Here we go. Now, there's our buddy Mike Scioscia. He's got an elite program with high school pitchers and catchers, Martin Luther King Dream Series out there in Tempe, and he says hello. Mike, long time, always a pleasure. How are you today, pal, okay?
I'm doing great, Chris. You can't go wrong. It's about 70 degrees out here in Arizona, so we're having a great day.
There you go. Now, you love to instruct and you like to teach, and here you got all these young high school catchers. You know, they're a different breed. You know that better than anybody. What do you see from a talent standpoint here with all these elite catchers in your program out in Tempe this weekend? Let me hear.
Well, we've got some great athleticism, and that's always fun to work with. And these kids do things easy. They're quick. They're strong, and they want to absorb knowledge. And it's really a blast for me and for all the instructors that are down here. You know, Ronnie Washington's down here, and guys that have obviously been in the major leagues. Jerry Manuel. We love working with these kids. These kids just sop up the information, and they're talented kids, and it's been fun.
Do the fundamentals not as good as when you broke in because they're so talented? They have a tendency to maybe the high school coaches don't do as good a job with the fundamentals. Yeah, I mean that's the brush that people paint. Is it accurate or no, Mike?
No, I think they're doing things easier than we did because I think they've learned the game at an earlier age. A lot of these kids are, to some extent they're polished as a high school kid, but they've got a lot to learn. So. Fundamentals are fundamentals, Chris. Fundamentals aren't going to change till a human being grows a third arm or a third leg, and they do things differently. So the way they're going to approach a ground ball or the way these catchers are going to receive, those fundamentals are going to be there, and they need to put it into their program and be consistent with it, and then let their natural ability play.
All right, now let's do a couple things. Your buddy Joe Maddon takes over the Angels job. Probably a little bittersweet, but I know you love Maddon. Give me some thoughts on that for a sec. Go ahead.
I think it's great. I think Joe's a perfect guy to go in and kind of, although, the Angels never really were that quote-unquote rebuild team, we went through it a little bit where you were trying to, repurpose a pitching staff and get guys that could go out there and pitch and hopefully contend. I think they're a little further ahead with that. They got a great offensive line. The Rendon signing was tremendous. When you put him with Mike and Albert, and you put Justin Upton, a healthy Justin Upton, back in there, and Andrelton, these guys are going to be good. And I think Joe's a perfect guy to bring them together and hopefully get them back into the playoffs.
Now, listen, you wouldn't stand for that nonsense, and I know there's a quote we're going to show from 2014 with all the instant replay nonsense and the temptations of doing things sort of illegally with stealing signs. Here is the quote. Nick Francona had it. When MLB introduced expanded replay in 14, being the replay monitor during games became part of my job at the Angels. And from the outset, Mike Scioscia made it clear there would be zero tolerance for any nonsense, and it was on me to ensure it didn't happen. Pretty simple. So you got that message across, Mike, that we are not screwing around. We're going to play the game the proper way. So you don't like what you see. You got to be a little disappointed with the sport with what happened with the Astros. Let me get your thoughts on that. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, Chris, I don't think what was happening in Houston and allegedly Boston now is as pervasive as people think. I think most organizations, lion's share of the organizations, had the attitude that we did with the Angels, that it was crossing a line, and it was a line we were not going to cross. We wanted to be in tune with if a pitcher was giving us something by flaring his glove, or a catcher was getting sloppy with his signs, whether at a pitcher's how a pitcher set up, for a pitch to try to get it the old-fashioned baseball way. And we had some guys who were really good at it. Torrey Hunter, Bobby Abreu. These guys were as good as I've ever seen of picking just pitches from a pitcher, right, with how he would set his glove. And so that's part of baseball. That's legitimate. I just know that line is a line we never wanted to cross our organization. To be honest with you, I don't think it's as deep as a lot of people are making it out to be, with supposedly every organization doing it. I know that's not true.
Now, good job. Everybody does assume now that the Astros, Red Sox aren't the only ones. But I get the feeling that I love Hinch, but, I mean, you got to be fair. If you saw this going on, you would get that club together and say, guys, my watch, this isn't happening. Mike Scioscia would do that, correct?
Well, I think from the outset we made it clear. I think our organization was very firm on that, about not wanting to cross that line. I can't really tell you what went on with Houston or what went on in the clubhouse in Boston. You're not there. But I know that our guys were very, very adept at just watching the game on the rail, watching it out of the dugout, watching pitchers' tendencies. And when they did that, it's these little things that you pick up that are going to help you in those situations, and that's the way we went about our business. And like I said, I think to be honest with you, Chris, I think the lion's share of organizations did it that way. I don't think you have as many things happening as you did in Houston, as Boston, as maybe a lot of the media are trying to make it out to be.
You were there in 17. Were you suspicious of the Astros at all when you went to Houston or not?
Well, you're always suspicious about making sure your signs are held in-house with your players. So you're always monitoring how your catcher gives signs, your manager, you're always monitoring what pitchers are doing. And at second base, sometimes guys would get location if we were a little bit sloppy. That happens. So when that would happen, we had no problem with it. As far as the other side of it, as far as the line that was crossed, you really don't have any idea what's going on until something happens where there's a player that would expose it as Fears did, and that way there's an investigation to kind of find out what was going on. But we didn't know, not to the extent it was going on. You have no idea about that.
I like Fiers. I like what he did. Now you're a player who played forever. I know there's sort of a line that the player is not supposed to rat on his teammates because there's that brethren standpoint. But me, as an observer, Mike, you know me a long time with baseball, how much I love it. I have no problem with Fiers doing that. Somebody had to say something, and so he did it. I don't have an issue with it. Do you think he crossed the line by sort of ratting out, or are you okay with how Fiers handled this? Let me get your thoughts on that.
Baseball's so competitive, and when you put that uniform on of a team, I think you're obligated, if you know something about a team that you just came from and you're playing against that team, I think you're obligated to go to a manager and say, look, if this is a tendency or this is a sign that the third base coach used to use to hold a runner or to give him the green light. Those are things that have happened in baseball for 100 years, where guys come into your organization, you want to know what other teams did. What did they do on cutoff and relays, just from a technical standpoint, to see if you can improve some of the things you do. But also, you do want to know some tendencies, maybe what guys were on their own that they might know about as base runners, or what a sign what was a third base coach. This happens in baseball all the time. So the fact that Fiers came over and now he's competing against a team that might be doing it and is kind of exposing it, I don't think anything's wrong with that.
Good job. Now, listen, I would love to see you get a crack at it. Has the Astros, Mets, or Red Sox reached out to put a phone call to you?
To be honest with you, I'm loving my retirement. I have not heard from them, and I can't tell you how great a time I'm having, Chris. So if anything would come about, certainly, I'd be interested, but I'm certainly not out there pining for a position or looking for anything. So as of right now, I'm down here in Tempe working with these kids and having a great time.
Good job, Mike. Always a pleasure. You've always been good to us. Thanks very much. Enjoy the winter. Enjoy the football Sunday. Thanks for coming on today.